Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Hi, Peter Howard here, and I can't even do a fake English accent, so I'm not even going to bother trying, but I did just say I was Peter Howard because I tried. I wish I had like those ridiculous headphones that, well, I guess both of you have. I don't have them though.
Sorry.
Well, Peter can't be here tonight, but he is with us in heart and in soul, and he's alive. That made him sound very dead. But you know, we're here doing the same stuff. It is SFB playoff season. That's what, at least for us, it says up there.
I made it.
Me too. What place were you in?
1,000-ish.
I don't remember anymore. Hold on. Playoffs, round 1. Search. I was 1,272nd.
I think I'm ahead of you. I think I was like 1,040 something or 50 something.
1,086.
80 something.
Yeah, you had me beat by a solid like 1.5 per game.
My team was 9-13.
I had a better record than that. I think
so. But I had the number 1 overall Scott Fishbowl. Like,
yes, you did.
Dan is in my division.
So. No. Dan did not finish undefeated. He
wasn't undefeated. He was 20-2, but he was like the high scorer.
Oh, okay. No, because there was a Dan who last week there were 5 undefeated. This week there were 4. A guy named Dan was the one dude that lost.
No, he lost 2 games to the median. Yeah.
That sucks. Oh, you know what we're supposed to do? That's what we're supposed to do. I wasn't going to do that countdown thing for like 30 seconds and sit here waiting.
Welcome to the grind. I don't know. That was all I got. Yeah. It's a good Peter Howard impression. I like it.
Rashad Bateman and short undrafted players. Well, hey everybody, it's Wednesday night. It's grind time. It is, I don't know, time to go to bed already. Why did I say yes to this? Because I wanted to spend time with Zach. That's literally all it was. But we're here. We're going to read through comments, ask questions, answer questions, probably ask questions too, because Zach is smarter than I am. And I literally oiled my chair before we started talking. And I think it's a matter of willpower, and the chair's willpower is stronger than mine. So too bad.
It's winning chair 1 WD-40.
Absolutely, and it's definitely more than 1-0 because this is the second time I did, and I used a lot of that can this time around. So I have a little bit of a headache, not gonna lie. All right, so let's get going. Bo Pons, 12-team Superflex PPR 0.5 tight end premium start 10. Thank you for literally everything we needed to know. After a slow start, finally second, nice, and currently holding a bye, even better. Three-way race of 9-2 records. That's
wow.
Tough. Good league.
Yeah.
First year in Dynasty, and I have to think it's because I watched this show. Thanks.
I appreciate you, Joe.
Well, hold on. No, I'm gonna. Well, I mean, I'm just here, and you listen to Zach. That's what you get it for. I mean, I'm probably the reason you have those 2 losses.
It's probably not the reason you're 9-2, but
was that Peter enough? That felt
yeah.
Thanks, man. Like, I have to say, yeah, we are absolutely responsible for that. You're welcome. If you want, I'll give you our PayPal so you can send us some of your winnings, because I mean that's just only right. That's the way it goes, right? Current flex spots: Terry and Brian Robinson Jr. both versus Dallas. Do any benchers deserve a start instead? Deontay, Najee, Logan Thomas, Ty Chandler, KJ Osborne, Dallas D scares me, but new OC in Pitt. So I like a lot of these guys, actually. Like, I feel like Najee's just going to get fed because they're not going to know what else to do. New OC usually, well, when an OC gets fired, it's usually a back to basics kind of thing. And that might be to feed Terry and Brian Robinson Jr., which I mean, for my own selfish purposes, hopefully Dotson catches another touchdown, just, a little bit. But only 0.5 premium. I'm not starting Logan Thomas over them. Neither Chandler or Osborne for sure. Yeah, what about you? Because Deontay and Najee, the only two I'm stuck of, and it would be over McLaurin instead.
I was going to say, like Brian Robinson is a start to me. Dallas is, and I know we're at week 12, but Dallas has given up 6 top 24 games to running backs this year. They're a pretty stout defense, but Brian Robinson is kind of one of those at this point, an every week start for me.
Yeah. Same.
And then I would have to really kind of look, maybe Deontay, but like it's not like a real strong. This is where we need Peter.
This is where we need Peter, who actually pays attention, who like ranks starters and stuff like that.
Just because he's got the spreadsheets. But that's probably, you know what? I probably would go Deontay Johnson and Brian Robinson. That's probably what I would do, but it would be close.
Deontay Johnson's last 2 games are 2.7 and 3.6. I know we're talking.
Yeah,
Brave New World, because it's it's a new OC, it's a new day. McLaurin's only in at 9.6 points per game, like 12.3, 7.3, 9 point. It's higher than Deontay's for sure.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me pull up Najee real fast. I know he had a bad game this past week, but he's 12.9 points per game, 15.6, 18.6, 4.6. I get it that these are both pretty good defenses. Cincy's and Dallas's defense are pretty good. I think I do the running backs. I think I do Brian Robinson and Najee Harris. Flip a coin between Terry and Najee, but you definitely start Brian Robinson.
Yeah, Brian Robinson is one of the starts. Demario Douglas on taxi, which again, that Demario Douglas is a floor play to me. I don't see him as being a potentially 20 to 25 point play, where McLaurin could be, even Deontay Johnson with, like, again, assuming targets, could be. I don't see Demario Douglas. Demario Douglas is probably like a 10, 12 point play. He doesn't rate for me.
That's not bad though.
No, he's fine. But
Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi split first team reps in practice on Tuesday.
Yeah. They don't.
I don't know if it matters because they're both not great, but that's just to put that out there. Yeah, I think I avoid Douglas anyway. Actually, that's a lie. Who are they playing? The Giants.
Yeah, who have actually been pretty tough.
Yeah, they have
weird.
Well, only because they failed to send their fax in time to send away their cornerback. Jack Harris, evening, guys. Hey, should I be worried about the playoff push? Any moves you would be trying to make? 12 teams, start 10 Dynasty. Allen, Brees, Bijan, JJ, Chase. You should not be worried about anything ever. Hold on. Olave, Waddle, Nico, Laporta, and Purdy. Other flexes are James Cook, Dotson, Ty Chandler, and Judy. Names look great, but worried about performance and injuries as of lately. Thanks.
I mean, that's always the concern is injuries headed into the playoffs, but you can't predict those, and it's hard to mitigate those headed in. To me, looking at this team, Zach, and I know like Purdy's been pretty good, but there are a couple of cheaper options who have scored more that you might be able to get into. But other than that team's pretty solid. Yeah, and by pretty solid, I mean like really solid.
And the Niners it sucks because the Niners have a decent schedule going forward, except week 16 they play the Ravens. Yeah, and that's a tough defense to play against. And
but Purdy's been good. Like that's not especially as your QB2. I guess we're not really.
Well, it's funny. The Ravens are on MFL the second best defense versus quarterbacks. The first best is the Browns, and they played them in week 6, and Purdy put up 9.95.
Yeah.
Of course, that means literally nothing, but just to put that out there. But I don't think you're making any moves here. I don't think there's any moves to make right now. The real question then becomes, do you have a trade deadline? Is this something you need to decide now? If you need to decide now, I'm not doing anything. Like, this is... You have a really, really good team. And the even better part is, if something happens and you lose, you'll have a really, really, really good team next year. Like,
No.
You have zero age issue on this team.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, Zach. And I did Trade Addicts last night with Russ, and we talked a little bit about this, but I think there's this real hang up in the dynasty mentality and fantasy football in general, but you think your chances of winning in any particular year are actually better than they are, even if you have a great team, because there's so much luck and variance in once you get into a 1-game playoff. There's so much luck and variance there that, like, make your team, like you have, as good as it possibly can be. Let the chips fall, and you'll be good. This is a dynasty roster. This is a roster that is young, that is highly productive, that looks sustainable going forward.
Yeah. So don't panic. Just keep going. Guys, Flowosaurus. Hey, Flowosaurus. In 1 PPR, start 3 from this list: Waddle, Nico, Flowers, Lockett, and Dubs. I'm starting AJ Brown. Man, that's a lot of cues on the screen right now. AJ Brown and Puka already, and afraid of all the questionables becoming non-starters. Thanks. Well, I mean, that's not something you could really do with on, what day is it? Wednesday. I mean, tomorrow you might get a better idea. I don't even know who's playing tomorrow. Oh yeah, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. We're getting a lot of football tomorrow.
Yeah, 3 games tomorrow.
So, like, I feel like you should start Flowers because he's gonna be the only guy to catch the ball. And look, man, I get it. Waddle's not lighting the world on fire, but I'm still starting him every single week.
Yeah,
I think those are the best. Oh, and I can start one more. Nico, Lockett, or Dubs.
It's probably Collins. Honestly,
yeah, and they're playing the Jaguars, who let up plenty of points. I'm good with that. Here, hold on. Seattle is playing the Niners, so I find not starting Lockett on that one. And then Packers are playing the Lions.
Yeah, but I don't even care. Like, Dubs is like 2 catches and a touchdown. Like,
he has his games where he gets like 5 or 6 catches. Yeah, he's absolutely not. Yeah, everyone else is much more of a safer and more of a ceiling play, I guess. I just like Dubs. So yeah, Waddle, Nico, Flowers, first 3 listed. It's always nice and easy when that works out. Grimley 1314, 12-team Superflex PPR competing second in points 4. Got 2 offers to get AJ Brown. First, give Chase for AJB and JSN. I love it just for the 2 guys with 3-letter initials. Second, give Addison and a 25 first and late. Give Addison a 25 first and a late 24 second. Oh, to get AJ Brown. Right. Sorry, you said that from the beginning.
I think I would rather do the second one.
Yes.
So you have AJ Brown and Chase. As much as I love Addison, and I do, like, AJ Brown is a level up at this point. You're hoping Addison becomes what AJ Brown is. A 25 first not only is 2 years out, so the value is down, but also the quarterback class of 2025 right now doesn't look great. So in Superflex, that is going to push that draft value down just a little bit. So to me, it is pretty easily the Addison and 25 first and late 24 second that we're not even going to talk about because I don't care about seconds. So Grimley, that is the offer that I would accept to have my wide receiving core of AJ Brown and Jamar Chase.
Yeah, you want them both.
And you still have and yeah. So That's where I would go.
And that is literally everything I would have thought to say.
Yeah.
Bob in here bragging a little bit that he's listed above you. In
yeah, ask him how his playoffs look.
How do your playoffs look?
It's going to be a very short answer.
Non-existent. Scribbles, single QB, I know. Nothing wrong with single QB. I always say, play what you want to play what makes you happy, unless it's two tight end, in which case you're wrong and you shouldn't play that. But I get it. A lot of people don't like Superflex. It's absolutely fine. Single QB, if I'm going to play single QB, I like it to be like that complicated scoring that I never know what my QBs are scoring.
QB
but
premium,
like,
yeah.
Good scoring, good quarterbacks matter. And it's not just like Blake Bortles, Jameis Winston are going to win you leagues. Competing, offered projected 203 or 204 for Schultz. Have McBride and nothing. I have Schultz on I forgot what I did because I didn't have Andrews anywhere. I had a team where I won a league last year. I started really strong, and then my team just started fading and fading and fading. So I don't have my first because I traded it away. So I took Kelsey, I turned it into I can't remember. It was like first Brian Robinson and Dalton Schultz. Like I liked, and it's a best ball, so it's nice and easy. I don't even have to decide because I hate making decisions anyway. But Schultz is scoring touchdowns like every single game. So I don't think you need, again, this is absolutely dependent on having a trade deadline and if it's now. If your trade deadline is now, then I would do this. I would send clearly that's one pick, that's 203 or 204. Yeah, I would send a second to get Schultz. If you can get a third back, that makes it all the much better. If you can't, whatever, it's fine. It's a second. Especially in one quarterback this season, that's going to devalue it a little bit because a lot of the reason there's a lot of very, very good wide receivers coming out this year, but the reason firsts are so valuable is there's going to be like 4 quarterbacks in the first round of dynasty drafts. So that's going to push everything back a little bit more. So in one quarterback, like you're probably looking at, you might be looking at, Caleb Williams or Drake May at 203, 204. So I would do this. I'm fine with that. But also I don't feel the need to, because I'm absolutely fine rolling one tight end. Sorry. I also don't know, did the Cardinals have their bye yet?
I'd have to look that up.
Let's go tight end search. McBride, click. No, week 14, no less. Okay, so I stick by what I said. If you have a trade deadline, yeah, do this. If you don't, write it out, see what happens. But value-wise, I'm fine with this. And it's just because Schultz is catching touchdowns. I don't think it's a long-term play. Schultz might be absolutely nothing next season, but I think he'll help you this season. If anything, just for that 1 week, so you're not getting a 0 at tight end.
And I don't think necessarily that Schultz goes away. Like he just signed in Houston, like that he's tied to CJ Stroud. Like it's not I don't mind going in and getting that or throwing out a similar offer for Jake Ferguson. Like it's that type of tight end. And if you can get them for a second, that's fine. And Scribbles do not apologize about single quarterback. Like, don't do it. That's to me, play what you like. And that I think it's so funny because Dynasty gets really kind of snobby. And I think that there is some gatekeeping that's actually bad for the game.
Oh, yeah.
People are like, oh, well, I play in, a start 43 with a 7-man taxi squad. And it's like, dude, that's fine. That's great that you do that. But you don't have to. Like you can play in a vanilla, like single quarterback, non-tight end premium, and it's a great league. It's a fun league. To me, it's about the people in it and having fun. So if you're in that league, I know you didn't ask about this, but like there's no stigma here. Like bring whatever questions you have for whatever league you have, and we'll answer them. unless Russ is here and it's a 2 tight end league, and then he's going to give you just a smidge of flack.
He's not wrong. Scribbles again. Temp check on Laporta. Mid 24 first and second is Superflex too much. Might not get it.
Yeah, so it's probably not too much, but it's still don't want to pay up for a tight end, especially if it's not a premium, even as good as Laporta is. I don't want to pay first round picks for tight ends unless I'm getting, Kelsey. Like that's what I want. And as good as Laporta has been, you're in that same text message group where John Bosch just sent us that if Laporta, if you run what he's projected out, he'll end up with like mid 800s for yards, which is good. Like that's a really nice. I think that's like the 6th best tight end rookie year all time.
Very good year, yeah.
It's been very good, but I'm still not at a point where like I don't want to pay firsts for tight ends unless I am guaranteed to be the bull of the woods tight ends. Yeah, it's probably a little much, but it's also probably what you'll have to pay. They may even want more than that.
Yeah, I don't hate paying a first and second. I mean, it sucks that it's mid. You'll probably be sad when you see the wide receivers that are on the board, or if Brock Bowers makes it there. And, Laporte is great and all, but Brock Bowers is supposedly the first coming of Kyle Pitts because some people think he'll be better. So, like, I should have just said a better prospect than Kyle Pitts, but I don't know what I was aiming for. So the value's fine. Should you do it? Probably not. But I'm also team, if you want him, go get him. And you're never going to be sad putting Sam Laporta in your lineup. Also, by the way, November DLF ADP's tight end 1.
Yeah.
In a single QB drafted as early as the 305. Nope, 4. Sorry, I missed one.
But this is
drafted 28, 29, 31, 35. Drafted in a very short window in all 4 drafts. I think that's crazy. Kelsey should be tight end 1 until he decides to retire.
I was just saying, if you're going to have to pay that, then pivot to one of the elite tight ends, or to me, see if you can go get McBride for less than what you can Laporta. Like he's probably a better prospect, but he's just as much of a prospect and has been producing now that he stepped into the tight end role in Arizona. So
yeah, and McBride is sort of doing better than Laporta does when St. Brown is on the field and healthy.
Yeah,
because right now McBride is the primary target in Arizona. I'm praying Hollywood works his way back as that. But
and the other thing, I mean, and I heard you and Bosch and Travis May talk about this on Dynasty Trade Calculator, but no, not Dynasty Trade Calculator, Dynasty Wall Street on the Dynasty Trade Calculator feed.
I didn't even notice.
But Arizona could potentially be in the mix for Marvin Harrison Jr. Like they're going to have a pick that's up in that range.
Yeah, they're number 2 right now.
Yeah. So,
Dell is almost top 12 on keep trade cut. Saw Tank go for London at a mid 24 first. All right. First and foremost, KTC is not it for me.
Yeah.
It's the most reactionary, something to do when you're bored and very easily skewed, and it's not the right format to be relevant for anything. Like, I don't think it helps for trades. I don't think it helps for rankings. It's a fun game to play. Keep trade cut is a fun game to play. I don't think you're supposed to make things out of it. But Tank should be a top 25 wide receiver at worst.
Yeah, and I think probably a little higher. But yeah,
That's why I said at worst. Like I know we
yeah,
talked about it last night, and I got him up to around like 17.
yeah.
And so going for
And
London plus, I get, and I'm here for it.
I would.
It's a little heavy, but
I would rather have Dell than London, but I don't think I would give up a mid first on top of London to go get Tank Dell.
Exactly. What an asshole. Bob Gilchrist. T. Higgins has been useless, but my question is about quarterbacks. What are you doing with Bryce Young? Are you holding or trying to get out now? Bryce Young is good.
Yeah,
the Panthers are terrible. You don't. If CJ Stroud wasn't doing CJ Stroud things, we wouldn't be worried at all about Bryce Young things. It's all a matter of perspective. It's the fact that there's someone else doing what Stroud is doing. Like, don't forget, like, Tua didn't have the greatest rookie year. Burrow was good, but he didn't have like sophomore Joe Burrow, like, you know. But then there was Justin Herbert doing Justin Herbert things, and we're like, oh, is Tua bad? Like, just because Herbert was there blowing it up and he was drafted later than Tua was. Like, I am not giving up on Bryce Young whatsoever. I mean, I only had one share and I traded him away to this guy over here for a guy who ended up popping his Achilles anyway. Yeah. That's the way fantasy football rolls. But like, I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all, especially because I think these two are connected, and I'm still hoping T. Higgins ends up in Carolina.
Well, and we as the Dynasty community are not going to drop Bryce Young a ton. Like, he'll drop some, but he's not going to drop a ton. He's still got the top draft pick. He's got the capital. They're invested in him. He's not going anywhere in terms of losing a starting job or anything. The Panthers, you assume, will put more around him, in front of him, to protect him, and eventually will get better. So yeah, to me right now, it's not the time to sell Bryce Young, because getting out now, I think you're going to end up getting less than what you spent to acquire him. And so I'm not taking a loss on Bryce Young yet.
Exactly. Open 24 hours. Inbox offer 12 teams. Start 11. Superflex PPR 0.5 tight end premium. Give Fields, Kincaid, and Tank Dell. Get Hurts and Andrews. Current QBs: Fields, Love, Pickett, Cousins, Rodgers. Tight ends are Kincaid, and Njoku, and Schultz. I guess this comes down to... That's a lie. No, I don't think I do this. Like... So here's
if I'm not competing, I do.
See, here's the thing. I get it. You're easily upgrading with Hurts, and that's really what it comes down to. Like, open 24 hours. We need to know what your team looks like what you're trying to do, not who's on it, but like, do you want to make the playoffs? Because losing Kincaid and Tank's points and getting Andrews, who can't score you points, is going to really hurt your team. And the difference in points between Fields and Hurts isn't going to be nearly enough to make up for that. So if you're competing and don't have like the ballerist of baller teams, I don't think you can do this. But honestly, like, I really believe in Fields and I really like Tank Dell. I would just try and cash out on Kincaid for a better tight end. Like, I think you're probably... Hold on, it sucks that we can't get any real numbers on Fields or anything, but let's see. Is he up here? Yeah, Justin Fields. You know, ignore the first 3 games where he was absolutely like that team wouldn't let him do anything. The 3 games we have of him being healthy and playing mobile are 32, 35, 23. And of course, Hurts is averaging 26 points per game, but I think you're probably... Hold on, I could even... I mean, we're talking 20-ish points per game, 20-something points per game with those games also. And of course, I am absolutely skewing things to make sense with the short sample.
You're a much bigger Fields proponent than... I think Fields is fine, but I am, and we talked about this last night, but I am playing primarily mobile quarterbacks. So the quarterbacks who are not completing, a high rate, like 60 65% of their passes, getting primarily points through rushing. They, I think, have a little bit more tenuous grip on starting positions than the guys who move the ball through the air and can run. And so I'm treating them more like running backs. So if I can get out of Fields and Kincaid, I don't necessarily want to get out of Dell, but getting back Andrews and Hurts, like I am a lot happier with Hurts as a quarterback going forward for the next 5 years than I am with Fields. And I think Andrews is a better player than Kincaid. And I think, especially with the 1.5 premium, I think that Andrews sees the targets that Kincaid is not going to be able to sustain. So Andrews in the future gives me a hammer. I hate giving up Tank Dell, but I'm still, I think, on the plus side of this with the upgrade from Fields to Hurts and the upgrade from Kincaid to Andrews. So I'm going to do this with the caveat that if I am contending this year, it makes it awful lot harder to make that trade.
Yeah. And in those 3 games, I'm completely nitpicking to help my case. 68% completion percentage. Just saying.
Yeah.
So here's my real line of thinking. Like, let's just say Justin Fields falls in that glob of 20 to 22 point per game quarterbacks, which is likely. Hurts is usually hitting around that 25, 26 points per game by the end of a season anyway. So it's like a 5-point game difference. Andrews versus Kincaid and Tank Dell. Again, like, this comes down to your team build and where you are. Like, if you have a strong team and condensing makes sense, this is fantastic for you next year. If your team is okay and there's a lot of very good teams, like you have to start 11. That does make it. It doesn't sound like the difference between 10 and 11 is that big, but in a 12-team league, it matters. So
it's like 12 players.
Thanks, Zach. Yeah. The answer is the value's there. If you're not competing, yeah, go for it. We're gonna move on now. Mike Gonzalez, 12-team, 1 quarterback, start 8 PPR, no tight. I'm gonna assume that's no tight end premium, as opposed to just no tight ends. Interesting though, if there were just no tight ends. Though there's McBride. Never mind. Middle team probably going to miss the playoffs. First place team is offering Deshaun Watson, DK, Mark Andrews for my Lamar, McBride, and Singletary. Nope. There's the difference between Watson and Lamar is so cavernous to me that you're not going to come close to making it up. I don't care that there's no tight end premium.
Yeah.
No.
And even in a 1 quarterback.
Yeah, don't care.
Yeah.
I'm that out. Again, it's tough for when I'm talking about Deshaun Watson, especially if you've ever listened to me talk about him before, because I have no interest in that man ever being near anything on my fantasy teams. So, but having nothing to do with him as a human being, he hasn't been good for fantasy or in real life in general.
So with this one, I would turn around and offer maybe McBride and Singletary for Andrews.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah.
Because I think that might get done because Singletary has been good. You got Pierce nicked up. McBride has been fantastic. But I think for you, especially if you're going to miss the playoffs, getting Mark Andrews upgrades your tight end position, plus upgrades your pick for next year, assuming you still have your pick. Mike. So that to me would be what I would do is I would counter and say, look, I'll give you McBride and Singletary for your Mark Andrews. That upgrades him at 2 positions while getting rid of a tight end that is not going to score him points. And I think it ends up benefiting both teams and helps you in the long run.
Scribbles, 12-team Superflex best ball, tight end premium. Lamar and Andrews again. Lamar, Andrews, and Zay, or 103, 104, McBride, and
It's still probably Lamar, right?
Yeah.
Andrews over McBride.
So Addison and McBride for Andrews. I
That's
think
probably
that.
that's probably a little that's probably a little heavy.
Yeah,
Like
but
that's close.
so Lamar for the 103 and 104. I would take Lamar. I mean, I know we're
But you,
probably in.
but you got Zay too. Assuming that's Flowers. I don't know if it's Jones,
Oh,
then
see, I thought
whatever.
Zay Jones, which is why you need to give us as much information as possible, everybody. Um,
Because if it's Flowers, that's easily the Lamar Andrews Flowers. That's a
what a
stack
stack!
there.
Yeah, I think I'm sticking with the players. Don't get me wrong. If you want to rebuild, this will be a lot of fun. Going, you like. There's a chance you get, Marvin Harrison Jr. and either wide receiver 2 or QB 3,
Right.
because it depends where and how early Marvin Harrison Jr. actually goes and where Drake May lands and all of that stuff to see who is 2 and who is 3. But so you're going to get one of them and then the next best at that position, and it's not going to be a running back. So you're either going to get Brock Bowers,
Right.
another good QB, or another really good wide receiver, and then McBride, and you're getting Addison, who is awesome. So again, like, I do still think this is the players. But like, if this is a cheap buy-in and you're in a lot of leagues and you're like me and rebuilding is fun, I might just do this for the hell of it.
But so the one Scribbles for me, the one real hesitation and the reason why I would keep the Lamar Andrews and assuming it's Flowers side is because at the 103, you're going to miss out on Caleb Williams. You're going to miss out on Drake May. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. You're going to have your choice of Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers. Like, that's exciting. But you lose that quarterback. Like, and not just a quarterback, but like the second tier, like really high value, high production quarterback.
For sure.
And you're not making that back with the 103, 104. I don't think.
You are not. No. You're not, for sure. Like, again, the right answer is the players. But that I'm just gonna keep saying it.
Picks are fun. I get you. Picks are fun. They are.
Look at this Bob in here trying to play games with us. It's nice to say you don't care about seconds. Laporta, Tankdell, and Puka, except Tankdell was a third and Puka was a fourth or waiver wire.
But Bob, I don't care about seconds. Like this season seconds. But if I'm in the second round and Laporta was available, I will go take next year's second and a third and say, here, I'll give you this for your second and make that tactical pick. And if I don't get them, that's fine too. But that's how I play it. I don't care. Like, a second is not going to hold up my deal now because I can always buy a second on credit.
Yep. And that it's really funny because that's why I always say, like, I never have my own picks. And if I want to trade back in, I'll trade back in. And people are like, it's not that easy. And I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. But also, like, I don't usually want my first, because if I'm competing, I want that first to be late. And chances are, if I want someone in the draft, that's going to be earlier than what my pick was going to be. Yeah. I get it. You have to pay a little bit more the longer you wait to buy in. But especially in the second, if you're someone like Zach and you actually know these players and find players you like, it's easy to get into those spots when other people are just like, whatever, it's the mid-second, these are dart throws.
Right. And like that. And I'm a lot more likely to trade my first in a startup than I am. And like, you've been in startups with me. I never have my next year's first round pick because I'm always moving up to get players that I want. In Russ, in your leagues with a 0.75 premium, it's always trading up to get another tight end because.
Yep.
But
you good?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm good.
He's getting a little too choked up on that question. Let's move on. Chris Thompson, 10 team, 1 QB, start 8 PPR, no tight end premium. Thoughts on trading Charbonnet now while his value is trending up? He's my most valuable RB, only have handcuffs on my roster, not competing, but have 6 first and 20. Nice. And yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Of course, it depends on what you can get. If you can get a first for Charbonnet, you take that and run. The end of the first round will be better than the end of last year's first round, at least from what I'm hearing. Clearly, it's early, and I don't necessarily know, but like, oh man, like I love Kane Fassell with all of my heart, but you know, Travis May took over Kane's spot on Dynasty Wall Street, and the big difference between Kane and Travis is a talker. So like I learn a lot. Like I can ask Kane a question, he'll give me the answer, but like I ask a question about DK Metcalf and I end up learning about the next 3 years worth of wide receivers from Travis, and it's just wonderful to sit and listen. So like he's all in on like to him, this is another 2020 where like T. Higgins and Michael Pittman will be around in the second. Like that's what he's making it sound like. So if you can pull more firsts or even early seconds, like a first and an early second for Charbonnet, I do that very, very easily. Mostly also just because they started moving towards Charbonnet, you know, maybe because Walker was getting nicked up, but it's never going to be one of them. And that team isn't good enough to matter. It's not Marshawn anymore. It's not Chris Carson anymore. Like their team's not going to be good enough for their running backs to be super relevant, I think.
The nice thing, though, about Charbonnet's skill set is I think he is a better pass catcher than Walker. And so there may be, he's not going to have the explosive runs that Walker does. Walker's a much better ball carrier. But I think Charbonnet is good. But I do think getting out of him, if you can get a first for Charbonnet right now because he's starting, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Bob back on his real account. I had to give up a late first for McBride. I get it. It's fine.
I mean, it's not like I'm not gonna be mad at you for it. I'm not gonna say but I don't want to pay a first for a tight end unless it's, Travis Kelce.
Yeah, but I also understand if you're a competing team and you just lost Andrews and
it's your late first. Yeah, like I get it. Yeah, sorry about your Andrews. I'm sorry. My Andrews too.
I don't have any of those.
Not anymore.
I'm assuming that's supposed to say I love your hatred for KTC, Russ. I agree. Hatred's honestly like, oh man. It's one of those things where like I know they did it in the what's it called? In Mad Men and The Good Place, where it's one of those where like, you know, I feel so bad for you. And I'm like, that's funny. I don't think about you at all. Like, I honestly I forget Keep Trade Cut exists until someone brings it up. I don't think, like, good for them. They created something that people love to use and more power to you. Not my deal. Alan Davis, KTC for those who want free stuff. Free stuff is nice. Also, fair enough. And with 17 bench spots, I'm holding T. You should both T. Higgins and just like a nice chamomile or jasmine, you should always be holding some tea. Bopons, I'll have to give a contingent percentage of any winnings via super chat, not via super chat. It goes to DLF, not to us. And also, super joking, you know, just ask Peter for his PayPal. That's fine. William, this is terrible advice on Fields.
That's actually what you should do, Bo, is subscribe to Peter's Patreon, which is like $1, one singular dollar, and that makes a huge difference.
I think it's just Patreon PA Howdy. I'm going to go check it out because that seems very important right now. But also, we were both giving Fields is going to struggle to be a starter in the next one. Okay, so I was giving bad advice on Fields. You were not. Because we had different opinions.
Again, we don't, William, we don't know the future on this. Like, Fields could turn it around. He was good at Ohio State. He has been good in stretches. He's been bad in stretches. So I'm playing Fields like he's a running back. So the way I play running backs is if I can get 2 to 3 years of positive production out of them, which you have out of Fields, I'm going to take that and then I'm going to flip them to go get the next player that I want and a pick. And I think you can do that with Fields right now, whether you swap positions and like trade him for a wide receiver and a first round pick, hopefully early, so you can get back into a quarterback, or if you kind of part him out, or like what we talked about, where you're trading Fields to get, like, what was it, Hurts? Yeah, so like that sort of thing to me is how I am approaching this. But again, with the full knowledge that I don't actually know, this is just how I am approaching this archetype, because to me, the NFL is still reticent to trust running quarterbacks, and they've always been hesitant to do that. And running quarterbacks now, it's become a little bit more of a cheat code, because you've seen the college game go more to RPO and spreading things out and running, and so that trickled up because some of the better college quarterbacks end up in the NFL. They can do this sort of thing. And so you've seen RPO kind of become more prevalent in the NFL. You've seen guys like Lamar Jackson succeed. You've seen this running archetype, except for Lamar Jackson is different than just a running quarterback. Jalen Hurts is different than just a running quarterback. Josh Allen is different than just a running quarterback. Fields, we're hoping he's different than just a running quarterback. Anthony Richardson, who the Dynasty community like shoved up into the spotlight, looks like just a running quarterback. And the guys who are just a running quarterback, I'm treating like a running back in terms of the way I think about trade when I'm going to trade them and when I'm going to flip them, because I don't want the value rug to get pulled out from underneath me.
By the way, Bob just texted us. Mark Andrews is his most rostered player.
I knew that. Oof. I did. I'm sorry, Bob.
That's rough. So here's my thing. Here's my thing on Fields. Whether he's going to get a shot. That's all that matters. He was drafted too early, and the NFL doesn't like making decisions. When you're in a weird spot and you see that there's a quarterback available who was drafted in the top 10, 12, I can't remember, he was up there somewhere. They're going to be like, oh, I'm the best coach in the league. I can fix what this guy was doing wrong. And those other people were stupid. Like, the egos in the NFL are ridiculous, which I guess they have to be, but still, I don't have that in my brain, so it makes no sense. But also, those are the egos that make Justin Fields a pocket passer for the first 3-4 weeks of every season.
Right.
Yes, I'm absolutely talking as a person who was a fan of Justin Fields coming into the league, but when they let him play his game, he does well. So, and especially if the Bears do something silly like going and getting Caleb Williams, they're going to trade him away, in which case there's going to be a team that says, we want you. And if they do that and then don't use him the way he's supposed to be, that is just epic levels of stupidity. I don't think he's going to struggle to be a starter for the next year and a half. I don't. I am very likely to be wrong, because I am basing that purely on having just watched football for the past 20 years.
No, we talked about this with Herms. Like, I too think he's probably going to be a starter, because the options are going to be the Bears trade him and draft a quarterback.
Yep.
Where if they trade him, they're going to get a high pick. I mean, they're going to get a first round pick back for Fields.
Yeah,
they will. And so then a team has invested a first round pick in Fields to be their starter, or the Bears don't draft a quarterback, which seems wild with the 101, but maybe they trade back, maybe they get a haul and do that sort of thing and put pieces around him. And if that happens, all of a sudden Fields is like,
they've committed.
Still going to be. So it's not, to me, it's not necessarily about Fields or whether he's starting or what, like, but I know that I can insulate myself from that risk and go get another quarterback that I would prefer with Fields. So
Yeah.
that's what I would do.
By the way, patreon.com/PA Howard, because Peter's a pain in the ass and had to use his full last name for some reason. Jaja's out here talking to William. Yeah, exactly. She's agreeing with us. Scott Honecker, in Superflex, my team is not a contender this year. What do you think of using Dak to tier up to Burrow? Yes. Okay, so here's the thing. Dak is 30. That is not old for a quarterback. Dak is also doing really, really well. You shouldn't have to pay a lot on top. Now, I am fully on the belief that for a 24, whatever Burrow is, year-old quarterback, missing 8 games should not affect his dynasty value literally at all. He is still a top 6 quarterback for me, ish off the top of my head because I don't actually rank things. But Dak is scoring a lot of points right now and will do for the rest of the year. So that should bulk up his value for this other team. I'm absolutely cool if you're on a rebuilding team to go and do that swap, but I don't think I would add much on top. Plus, I have seen at least 1 or 2 straight Dak for Burrow trades go through. So yeah, that's a fine move, and I love it because I just love Burrow and I believe in him. But I don't think it's something you have to do because Dak is very good and still young enough that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I'm adding to.
That's what. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm adding to Dak to go up to Burrow. It's not like that tier is closer and flatter than people want to admit.
See, the thing is, at the beginning of the season, the way last season ended, let me word that better. The way last season ended, I had Dak at the top of the 3rd tier for me. But he's played himself back into that 2nd tier. It was really like, what's this offense going to look like? And by the time Dak came back and he was healthy and he started clicking with CeeDee Lamb, like over the last few games, he's absolutely in that 2nd tier again.
Yeah.
BJ Lee not going to win this year. Oh, don't think like that. 1 QB 12 team. I traded away Kelsey and Eckler for Olave and Pitts. How do you guys like it? I traded Kelsey for Olave straight up in a league and that I was rebuilding in. So I guess I have to say I feel okay about it. And then Eckler for Pitts, I think, is fine also. So yeah, I'm good with this.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad, like, you're getting rid of points, you're gaining years. That's not a bad move, BJ. Go get yourself some gelato to celebrate.
Yeah. But I love whenever we talk tight ends and it's just like, well, Pitts is younger.
Well, no, like, look, Pitts.
I just think it's funny how young he is and how people are burying him already, because by the time he moves on to his next contract, he'll be younger than some of the rookies coming in.
Like Pitts has been disappointing because he was so touted and did so well in his rookie year outside of touchdowns. Like, he had 1,000 yard. He had the 2nd best yardage performance for a rookie tight end in history.
Like, he's going to end again with those, like, talking about John Bosch's tweet. He's going to, assuming things go the way they have been going, Pitts will have ended his rookie year with more yards than both Kincaid and Laporta are going to.
Oh yeah.
Again, it's just the fact that he's only scored 1 touchdown that all of a sudden we think he's terrible. So I love this move. You absolutely got. Now we just need Derek Carr to go away, because I love just pointing out, Derek Carr goes out at halftime, Jameis Winston comes in, and then Olave catches 6 more balls. It's just Hero U Scene. 10 team, have PPR, start Hollywood, London, Addison, or Flowers. Pick 3. I want, what's up with Hollywood not getting targets with Kyler back? I am stumped.
I mean, he had a few, like, he had a interesting drop last game.
Yeah.
But I mean,
so hold on. Marquise Brown Yeah, what? How long? It's only been 2 games for Kyler, right?
Yeah.
4 and 5 targets, but like he's coming off 10, 10, 11, 7, 9, 8. Like 4 or 5 targets is weird with Kyler there because he was the dude for Kyler, even when Hopkins was still there. Like, um, that being said, I might start the other 3 anyway. Like London has seemed to have a pretty safe floor, even with Ritter at quarterback. Addison, you're still starting because I still don't think Jefferson is playing, and Flowers, you're playing because Andrews isn't there.
Yeah, I was just I'm definitely starting Flowers and Addison, but I don't the other 2 it's a little more difficult for me.
Yeah, I think I start those last 3. William, the chances of that team being a contender with Fields in a superflex format is slim at best, but I get your point. No, I have 2 contending teams with Fields on them. You know, it's just about having a good team that's not based around one quarterback. That's Flowsaurus in a 12-team superflex PPR start 10. Trade Waddle for the projected 110 to 12 and Najee. No, I get it. Waddle's not having a good year. He's still very, very good on a very good offense. Najee wouldn't start over Gibbs, White, or Achane, and Pick is probably a late round wide receiver or QB. Probably can get more in offseason. Just don't do it. That's all I'm going to say is don't do it.
Yeah,
I got offered a playoff first for Garrett Wilson today, and I rejected it. And I rejected it before the guy had the chance to message me to say that he sent me an offer. And then I countered with Garrett Wilson and what seems to be like a very late first for what is right now the 103 and another late first. Well, that late first that he sent me. So pretty much giving him what might be the 110 to 112 and Garrett Wilson for the 103 and maybe the 108. Of course, who knows what's really going to happen with those late picks. And he was just like, Garrett Wilson's the wide receiver 27. Cool. He had one really bad outlier game, but was still putting up like 16 points per game with Zach Wilson. I'm not exactly worried, not to mention the fact that he's a 24-year-old stud wide receiver who's going to get Aaron Rodgers back next year.
Yeah.
Why am I selling that low? And the same exactly goes for Waddle. He's off one bad year. He's still ridiculously young, ridiculously good, and on a much better offense than Garrett Wilson is. So, like, no, just... Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Gelato tomorrow for dessert. How about you?
See? Celebrating. We're there.
I got to be honest. I don't care about Thanksgiving foods much. Like, I know we talked about it a bit on Trade Addicts last night because I was asking people what their favorite side dish was. It's really funny. My mother-in-law cooks everything from scratch, except she uses stovetops. Those are a bunch of pies.
We got pies.
I see what are those? Pumpkin, apple,
lemon meringue, a custard, a pecan, and an apple. I said apple.
Yeah.
Or did I? Yeah,
you did. I'll eat some
chocolate silk. Is the other one. Those are the six.
Right, just save a piece of pecan and apple for me.
I got you.
So she cooks everything from scratch, except she uses stovetop stuffing. And like as a teenager, I used to just make myself a box of stovetop stuffing and sit there like with the pot and a freaking ladle eating it. And I'm also a fan of just dumping gravy on everything. And that seems like Thanksgiving is like the only time where you could do that without being super judged about it. But desserts are, if we brought dessert, we would get frowned upon. Like, why are you bringing this store-bought thing to my house? But we're going to get some pies. We're probably going to get some pecan pie, some apple pie also. She'll usually make a chocolate cake, which I'm not really a cake person or a chocolate person. But man, if there was some gelato on the table, I would absolutely go for it.
That's it.
But they're also super basic when it comes to ice cream even. There's literally just vanilla and chocolate, and that's it. Brain burst. What did you monsters do with Peter? Look, he's been getting out of the basement a little too much. We needed to lock him down there, make sure he remembers his place. He'll be back next week. Don't worry. Talking about other trades. Yeah, I'm always fine with moving anyone, but like the value on that trade for Lamar, I don't think was there. Bonzera, hey guys, hey, value check on Christian Kirk on a 1 QB PPR rebuilding team buying. Interesting. If I'm a rebuilding team trying to get Christian Kirk, which feels a little backwards, which is fun, I'm not spending more than a second because like the second is always a bit of the gamble of a gamble with those wide receivers. But and you know Christian Kirk is good. You know Christian Kirk is a part of that offense. They want to be involved. They straight up said that this season. And that's not going to change even if they do bring someone in, in the non-point scoring season. So even in a 1 QB, I'm not spending more than a second on Kirk. If I'm competing, I would probably send a late first for Kirk in a 1 QB, but I'm not in a rebuilding team. And if I want him on my rebuilding team, I'm still not sending more than a second for him.
It's interesting because he is perennially undervalued, I think.
Starting
yeah, like, and in terms of a player who's going to put up points. So, and I'm with you. Like, if you can sneak him for a second, I'm very happy with that.
Yeah. And Fantasy Cares is giving away Mark Andrews jersey this month. FantasyCares.org/JDRF. Every single penny coming in goes right to JDRF, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Fund. Mark Andrews has type 1 diabetes. The JDRF is to help children, well, really to cure type 1 diabetes, but also to help kids with care and upkeep and all of that stuff, because not only is it a pain in the ass, it's expensive. I have multiple cousins with type 1 diabetes. But Mark Andrews, when I read it out loud, it absolutely makes sense. But like, he has to get his blood sugar test every time he gets off the field. Like, that's crazy. And I want to see more kids in the league with type 1 diabetes. Like, that shouldn't be holding them back. So fantasycares.org/JDRF. It's through, because November is Diabetes Awareness Month, so we're running it through the end of November. So 8 more days. We'll announce the winner on, I think, the first Tuesday is the 5th. We do our weekly live streams on Tuesdays. We'll announce the winner then. Come and win this beautiful jersey. But while we're talking about that, this week's goodness giveaway is a Jamar Chase signed jersey. Let me get that a little closer right there. FantasyCares.org/GG for giveaway goodness. Your donation will get you entered to win a Jamar Chase jersey, and we'll announce that winner on Tuesday. William, I totally agree Fields will get multiple shots, but it seems like bad process to trade a top 5 Dynasty QB for Fields. Oh, no, yes, we're not doubting that. We were both on the side of Hurts was the right answer. Yeah. 26, but yeah, still young. Not sure who's... Andrews, maybe? Moving on. Scotch. Down in my belly. Allen and Kittle for Howell, Bijan, and a mid-first. Josh Allen, that makes more sense. Josh Allen and George Kittle for Sam Howell, Bijan Robinson, and a mid-24 first and 25 second. Man, we need some details. Wait, Allen and Kittle to me. Like, look, okay, so I get that Bijan's Bijan, but like, he's not playing like what we want Bijan to be. And Arthur Smith, we want to go. We don't know if he's going to. But like, you have Allen and Kittle, they're both studs. And I know that Sam Howell is the QB3 right now, but what's more dependable? Josh Allen or Sam Howell being the QB3? Like, I think this is very easily Allen and Kittle. If you're rebuilding, I don't think this is the way you go in trading those away. This is not the first time today I had to I've said to, I guess this was like Russ, he's 26. Again, I have no idea. I said somebody's the wrong age, and they're telling me now, but who knows how? That was 12 minutes ago, and I don't remember. P.S. Great conversation, though. Yay! That's all I really care about. Lakers ex-Commanders, what's your best Pokemon? So actually today, I was asked what Pokemon I was by my son. And I've had the same 2 answers for a very long time. When I was a teenager, when Pokemon was out, the answer was Snorlax, because I was just a fat, lazy bastard who slept all the time. And the only time I woke up was to go eat. But as I grew up and I got older and I realized how much anxiety comes with my life, I quickly turned into Psyduck, where I just run around holding my head, and when I get a migraine, the world explodes. That's my jam.
I got nothing.
Your kids aren't Pokemon kids?
I mean, kind of, but like
Also,
they talk Pokemon over my head.
Yeah. See, my kid does too, because there's like 3,000 new ones. I know the original 151.
But like, so I am just old enough that like missed me.
Liar, because I got into it because my older brother was into it.
When did you? Yeah, but when did you get into it? Because I was already like huge into sports, and like that missed me. Like it would have had to be.
Yeah, I mean, I was always a huge geek, so
yeah,
that's me. Oh, sweet. Here we go. 12-team Superflex in the Allen trade above. I still stick with Allen and Kittle because that's kind of what I was assuming anyway. Stephen White, 12-team Superflex, start 10. Contender, but QB2 is Gardner. Do you give up 24 and 25 own first for Fields, or just hope that Minshew does enough? I don't hate either. I mean, Gardner's doing absolutely fine. Hold on, let's see what he's actually pulling in. I know my Trade Addict scoring is nicer than a lot of other leagues can be, but I have to actually type things correctly. There you go. Gardner Minshew's putting up okay, never mind. 12 points per game. He's had a rough past couple of games, but he definitely has the ceiling. What do you think?
I don't mind. Like, I don't mind giving up the first 4 Fields if you are a contender. Again, that's 2 later firsts. Yeah. Fine, but also you have to be a younger contender, because now you're not rebuilding unless you're making massive trades. And so it's kind of league dependent, Steven. If your league is like easily tradable, I would make this move, because then I know that I can either get back out of Fields if things don't work out, or I can make my roster younger. I don't necessarily need those firsts. But if your league doesn't, if trading is like pulling teeth, or if your team is older, I think I'm less likely to make this move.
Yeah, exactly. Flowosaurus, stovetop unmatched. Seriously, it's just like, now, don't get me wrong. My actual mother's side of the family, they have their own family recipe stuffing, and it's freaking delicious. So I'm not like saying that stovetop's the only good thing, but stovetop is just delicious. And Bob is just saying Ben and Jerry's. So, I mean, yes, that's always, yeah. 2 smoked birds and prime rib. Zach is on his way already. You can't tell because it looks like he's in his dining room, but he's actually on his way to your house already, Bob.
I am.
Scott again, is a tier up to go from Amon-Ra to Chase? If so, what are you adding? Contender wants St. Brown and willing to entertain a Chase trade. Yes, Amon-Ra to Chase is tiering up. Probably not for the rest of this year because of no Joe Burrow. But right now, see, it's weird because Chase is sort of hurt, but like not to the point where it hurts his value. But like right now, are you adding more than a second on top of Amon-Ra to go get Chase? Like, the thing is, like, I don't want to, but you might have to, and I don't think I'm there for it. So, like, it really comes down to what do they want to do. And I love these situations because you have all of the power in this. If you're not competing, it doesn't matter to you which of these guys you have, but he wants points. He needs points. So they need to come strong to you. So if you can get Chase for Amon-Ra in a second, sure. But also, most seasons, I wouldn't be surprised if they finish very close. But it's just Chase has more dynasty value than Amon-Ra is.
Which is weird. It's just because he's a slot.
It's because Jamar Chase is the name Jamar Chase, and Amon-Ra was drafted in the second and doesn't play, the X way that for some reason people still have stuck in their head things need to be, though again, this draft class is full of it. So we might just be falling right into it. Scotchy, so what do you do when a league mate says they will do a trade in a DM and then just ghost it for 2 days after you proposed it, especially if you'd be willing to add a bit more? Trades aren't trades until they go through in the system, whatever your system might be. Trades and DMs mean absolutely nothing. It sucks, and ghosting or backing out after agreeing is bad business, but that's all it is. Like, you can't enforce that. Like, that's
Well, and not to be the other side, but like, you don't know what's going on with that person. So like,
it's wrong.
Yeah, like there could be life happening. So like, I might just be like, hey, just checking in. You know, are we still on for the like reach out, make contact, but like to me, it's not worth getting bent out of shape over it, and you know, bump that back, like send another one, or you know, send it with the whatever you're gonna add for more. Like that's fine. That's not a bad thing.
And just to put it out there, sorry, you know, I have no attention span, so I have Twitter open. DK Metcalf learns sign language on off days so he can trash talk cornerbacks and not get flagged. He scores a touchdown and signs number 44 is my son. So I commish a lot of leagues, which is not a surprise to anyone. And I get a lot of, especially because in my bylaws, they're trade addicts leagues. So it's in the laws that you have to reply to trade offers, or there can be, you know, penalties against it. And also you need to set a lineup. You can't tank like that. Whenever I do message someone, I legitimately always say, my first thing is everything okay? I don't care about your lineups. Are you alive and is everything well? Yeah. You know, and if everything is well, just please do better, you know, but like, because exactly, life is way more important than this. So yeah, like, assuming this person is okay and they're just being a dick about it, sucks that they're a dick, but there's nothing you could do about it, you know. Unless there's something in your bylaws that said trades agreed and DMs are, you know, ironclad, which seems like a terrible rule to have, but there's nothing we could really do about it. And if you're willing to add more, which you really shouldn't bid against yourself, then just send it again with a little bit more. Maybe they're playing a game with you. People do that to me because they know I have no patience. Scapegoat Matt Canada over here. On a rebuilding half PPR Dynasty league, was offered 2 seconds for Tank Dell. Was I wrong declining the trade? Nope. Yeah, you have Tank Dell. You keep Tank Dell over 2 seconds at this point. Tank Dell is worth the first 2 seconds. While technically is worth the first 2 seconds, is not a first. Hold Tank Dell on a rebuilding team. He's super young and a very good offense. So just keep it going now. Yeah. Andrew Carlson, 12-team, 1 quarterback, PPR, start only 8. Would you trade Josh Jacobs for a random 25 first and projected late 25 second, or hold out for more? If you don't want to score points, that's fine. Like, I think that's what you'll get.
Yeah.
You know, he's 25 going on 26. He's on a bleh team, having a bleh season, even though he's probably a top 10 running back. It's just not a great year for running backs. But I'm absolutely taking a first plus, even if it is 25. And then I'll try and do something with that 25 first to get me a player I like better, or to move into the 24 first.
He's top 5 right now. That's how down running back is this year. That in PPR, Jacobs is top 5.
Oh, in total points, yeah. Because he hasn't had his bye week yet.
So I total points because Peter Howard yells at me if I do points per game. He's here.
Points per game, he's 17th.
Yeah.
Man, I hate how spread out these bye weeks are, though. My kids have no clue about Pokemon. That's almost like a talent at this point with how prevalent Pokemon has been over the past 30 years. Lakers ex-Commanders from Chase rest of season outlook. Thinking about starting Nixon, I'm guessing that's Mixon, or Waddle over him this week. You can't sit Chase. Like, how do you sit Chase even with a no name? Like, who is that? Who is the bad quarterback going to throw the ball to?
Yeah.
Jamar Chase. But what does the rest of your team look like that Waddle is on your bench? Like, again, I know Waddle's not having the greatest year, but sitting him is still. And Mixon's going to get the ball, but he's probably not going to score many touchdowns because that team might not be able to move the ball into the red zone enough. So I'm still easily starting Chase over those two. McD, 12 team, 1 quarterback, start 10. DJ Moore and an early third, or Andrews and a mid to late first. Easily.
Yeah.
Like Andrews over DJ Moore in a third.
Yes. It's about positional advantage. Andrews gives you a positional advantage. Obviously not this year, but going forward.
Yeah. I if you don't need those points, and honestly, I don't think DJ Moore's points are even that hard to replace, especially like you could keep Andrews and trade that first for someone who's scoring DJ Moore's points. Anthony, I'd make ARSB for Chase straight up, nothing more for a contender. Yeah.
The funny thing is they're not very, like, St. Brown is outscoring Chase points per game, but not by, like, it's like 2 points per game, something like that. Yeah. Like, you're not gaining what you think you're gaining as a contender, but I won't say anything. Yeah. You just get Chase and
don't spoil it for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lakers ex-Commanders. Last question. It doesn't have to be your last question. Home league is a 10-team start 8 super flex. How to convince my friends to add another flex spot? Just show them how many good players are. Like that's how super flex became a thing. There were just so many good quarterbacks sitting on benches because there weren't enough starting spots for them. You know, show them what other leagues look like and players are starting. And, you know, again, if you play with people that are like competitive and have an ego, be like, look, you're good at this. You're smart. You'll know the players to start where these other idiots won't. Like, that's honestly how I convinced my friend to add another flex spot in, you know, I'm talking like home redraft league, like, you know, people that don't even always play like this. They're in this league to keep friends with people. So I'm like, dude, add another, you know, these players, they won't, it'll be an advantage for you. And he's like, oh yeah. So like that's how I've done it before.
Have Russ send you a link to one of the trade addicts leagues and the starting requirements and the way that shakes out, because it's so hard now to go back away from being able to have the flexibility, you know, the way that works, where you can start one running back or one receiver or one tight end, like, and then you just have 6 flex spots.
Yeah,
you can do whatever. Or I mean, I guess it's 5 because you get a super flex, but really it's 6 flex spots. Yeah. that you just have that flexibility. And to me, like, man, it's beautiful because it opens up. Part of what makes fantasy football so fun, and especially Dynasty, is figuring out how to build a roster that kind of combats the other teams in your league and the other managers in your league, and being able to find the advantages that the other managers are missing. And if you have, the more flex spots you have, the more kind of gamesmanship there can be, which means the more fun you can have, which means the more it opens up trade markets, because you don't necessarily, not everybody's looking for the same thing, because there aren't any requirements other than you have to have one of each position. Like, it just makes things so much, to me, so much more fun, because it's now about the strategy of team building and building the team that can exploit the holes that your league mates leave, as opposed to, okay, I have to fit this cookie cutter in and I have to beat my league on the players that I, you know, have to fit in. There's just, to me, there's just so much more. I mean, flexibility, I guess that makes sense since it's a super flex, but
flex spot.
Yeah, but there's so much more you can do So that's maybe you just cut that and send it to him. Be like, here, listen to Zach talk for a minute, but don't send him this now because we're over. But
yeah, just first of all, if you use myfantasyleague.com, my leagues are all public, so you can just search Trade Addicts and you can go look at the settings, and I have everything spelled out in the
bylaws.
Thank you. But just to put in, straight terms, my leagues are 12-team Superflex, start 10, where the minimum requirements is one of every position: one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, one tight end. Then there's 5 flex spots and 1 super flex. So you really only have to start one of each 4 position. The rest of it is whatever you want. Like, I can't imagine a redraft league right now, because in redraft everyone still is trying to win. Like, at least in every single dynasty league there's going to be 3 or 4 teams that don't care about winning. But like, imagine a league where everyone is trying to win and every team has to start 2 running backs. Yeah, that sounds awful right now. Like, I hate the requirements. I even me, who loves wide receivers and the amount of startable wide receivers there are, I don't want to have to start 3 wide receivers if I don't want to. Like, my 12 Olympians team, it's a struggle to find a 3rd wide receiver to start, especially when injuries start to happen. Like, just show them what the world can be. But the problem is, it's a home league, and home leagues usually don't like fantasy football. They like the game they're playing. So it's always really tough to make people change. A to Z, hi guys, hey. In second place in a 12-team Superflex Dynasty, start 10 somehow, because you're awesome. Christian McCaffrey, that's why. McCaffrey, ETN, JT, Pacheco, AJB, CD, Hawk, and Junk. QBs are sad. Carr, Pickett, Minshew, Zappy. Move 25 first for Goff, or just hold on.
I'd do that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I would absolutely start him over Pickett. And Carr's health has been up and down, so Minshew and Goff is probably better than any of those two. Yeah, I'm good with that. Bopon's favorite Pokemon is Alakazam. That's cheating, man. Like, he was like in the original, he was the strongest until you got to Mew and Mewtwo. There are over 1,000 now. That's insane. Pokemon is my first hobby over Dynasty. I was very much into Pokemon when it first came out, but it was very easily replaced by other things because even then it got too confusing for me.
So my Google search says that it was first released in Japan in '96 and then demoed in the United States in '98. So I would have been in high school.
I was in high school.
I was at that point. I was playing basketball 5 hours a night every night. No, not cool.
It's fine. It really is. You're too cool. I get it.
No, so
well, you were. You're not now.
No, my addictive personality manifested to 5 hours of basketball a night. Like, if it had been Pokemon cards, that would have been it.
Yeah.
Like, I literally played basketball 5 hours a night every night from the time I was in 6th grade to the time I graduated high school. So
I know it's just fun to give you a hard time because I like you,
but I'm not cool. Very far from cool.
Missed the point initially. Life happening is part of the concern. I'm not. It's just I want to keep the convo going. I've done everything. I've done the is everything okay? I don't want to add more until he responds. Then all you could do is wait. And yeah. We didn't. I hope it didn't mean it seem like we were calling you a bad person for saying that.
Yeah.
So just that is not at all what we meant. But yeah, all you could really do at this point is wait. There's nothing more you could really do. Just fresh. 12-team PPR, tight end premium 1.5, start 10. Send Mahomes for Andrews and Burrow. Other QB is Stroud. Yeah, I'm good with that. Clearly not if you want to score points right now, but going into next season with Stroud, Burrow, and Andrews sounds pretty awesome. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Man.
Okay, well, yeah, like Magic was Magic, and then came Pokemon, and Pokemon was never just the card game. It was always so much more. So yes, if we're talking straight up card games, Magic the Gathering has Pokemon beat.
I do have some of those because that came out when I was in 6th grade.
Yeah, we were in like elementary, middle school when that started.
Yeah. I
Crosby,
have like the second, like the beta. I have a bunch of them.
I don't have any of them anymore. I gave them to my friend, and then my friend gave them away. Full PPR. Start Higgins, Sharp, or Reed this week. Man, like Higgins is coming off a hamstring injury. That is, I'm not starting Higgins. Charbonnet, I think Reed's hurt, isn't he?
I don't know.
Like, I thought I remember a quote from LaFleur talking about Reed being hurt. He doesn't even have a questionable or anything. Clear for Thursday's game. So yeah, so he had a chest injury. I really like Jaden Reed. He's doing really, really well playing the Lions who don't have the greatest defense. I think I'm going to go with Reed as my answer. I forgot who the Seahawks are playing already. The Niners.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd go with
again, biggest upside probably Reed. Yeah,
I'll go with Reed. Scotchy, I know I'm stuck. Was hoping for a trade master trick. Oh, I have 0 tricks, man. Like it's about people. That's really all it is. So there's nothing you could really do about it. Grimly, Warren or Tim Boyle for this week? I'm assuming Jalen Warren, and I'll go with Jalen Warren.
Yeah. Not the Jets quarterback.
Not the Jets quarterback. I didn't know who he was. Now I'm gonna pretend this guy's name is Hamon, like Spanish for ham. 14 team, 0.5 PPR, super flex. Gave Warren and DeMario for Reed, and I was just talking about how much I like Reed. I probably gave too much, but thoughts. That's fine. I like it. I don't think you gave too much. I mean, DeMario is probably worth a third. I think Reed. I'd rather have Reed over Warren, so this is fine. Yeah. Johnny Detroit. How do you guys value RB's rest of season considering the 24 RB draft class is looking thin? Hold or target young RBs regardless of contending or rebuilding, perhaps hold older RBs normally sold as contenders. Can I be honest? I don't consider it at all. Yeah. If you're straight up rebuilding, like maybe next year isn't even your thing, I want nothing to do with running backs, regardless of age or what the next year's class is going to look like. So I don't even consider that. Like if you're in like a retooling, like you might compete next year, again, it'll have nothing to do. Let me take a step back. And I know like you were ready to talk, and I'm sorry that I'm rambling and having to find my way. What I'm trying to say. I attack running back year to year. It's very rare that I will keep a running back for multiple years. So if I'm out right now, I'm absolutely fine selling my running backs and then figuring out what running back to start week 2 of next season. Again, assuming the trades are there, assuming you're getting the value that's worthwhile for your running backs now, I take it because we've seen this year what running back can turn into at any given time. So if your RB is healthy, it's a roll of the dice that he will be next year. So I honestly, I change 0. I don't care about what next year is going to look like because I'll figure it out next year, especially on a team that isn't straight up contending. And if I am contending, I'm just keeping the running backs that are scoring points, and I don't care about anything else.
Yeah. And yeah, you hit that. And the way I build is through wide receivers. So this 24 draft class is exactly the draft class I want to target to rebuild. It's solid in quarterbacks. It's more than solid in wide receivers. And Brock Bowers.
Anthony likes your question, Johnny. I hope we gave you a good answer. I'm sorry if that's not what you were looking for. Letting me know who the Seahawks are playing. Scott, is Laporta much above Kincaid? I think Kincaid is soon to be the number 2 target consistently in Buffalo. He is. What do you think the price is for Kincaid? Honestly, I think they're going to end up being back-to-back. I know I've heard a lot of discussions of pretty much them two being top 4 with Kelsey and Andrews, and age putting people above. Age making them put Laporta and Kincaid above Kelsey and Andrews. That was very poorly worded. Oh, maybe Andrews is 26, and that's what Bob has been telling me because we talk about Andrews a lot lately. They're probably pretty similar because Kincaid came in more valuable than Laporta did. So even though Laporta went higher, Kincaid is also going up a little bit. So they're probably worth very, very similar prices, neither of which do I really want to pay. But first and a second at least. You might have to do more since Kincaid was actually drafted in firsts in most leagues, even though I thought he was way overdrafted.
Yeah. I mean, but there wasn't, at least for me, there wasn't, like, there was a gap between them. Like, I was clearly a Laporta guy, but like Kincaid is fine, and he's produced. He's been good.
It's funny. Like, it's never a great thing when you need an injury to happen to become relevant, but when that player is Dawson Knox, it makes me a little more iffy.
Yeah.
But man, in a 0.75 premium, ever since missing a game against the Giants in week 6, 21, 21, 23, 26, 15. Like, Kincaid's out here putting up points, so I'm not holding anything against him anymore at this point. Gabe Davis has full on disappeared. No other wide receiver has stepped up. So, yeah, Kincaid is already the number 2 target. What that means in a Bills offense isn't always the greatest thing in the world. But, yeah, no, like, if someone were to say Kincaid's my tight end 2 or 3, I'd say, cool, man. I disagree, but I can't really argue it because I get why people would do it, because they're a little too worried about age when it comes to tight end. Same thing with quarterback. It's weird to be worried about a 30-year-old quarterback because they can play till 39. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think I'm talking in circles. So there you go. Oh, sweet. We're not really far. We're actually like caught up, so I'm used to us being like an hour and a half behind because I haven't been on too much lately. But I'm glad you were happy with what we said. Kincaid also tied to a QB for longer, or at least contractually. Yeah, fair enough. The situation is much more easily changed in Detroit than it is in Buffalo, but I don't know if I really care about that right now.
Yeah, I mean that's great, but I don't believe it's the quarterback that controls the targets to the tight end. I believe it's the player, because everybody remembers when Gronkowski was out and everybody was going to come in and be the Patriots tight end and put up Gronkowski numbers because Tom Brady always throws to the tight end.
It's not. It's he throws Gronkowski.
It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So it's like Kincaid is drawing targets because Kincaid is getting open. He's earning targets, and the same with Laporta. So they're both doing well.
Yeah.
So
sit Najee or Reed in 0 PPR. I guess I'll sit Reed if it's no PPR.
Yeah. Hoping Najee vultures a touchdown from Jalen Warren.
Yeah, I hope that the volume itself just gets him there.
One of the 12 points that the Steelers score.
My strategy will be to buy, hold Gibbs, Bijan. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was loud. And even Barkley, Pollard as much as possible. It may be flawed, but my thought process is likelihood of their production being replicated is low. Hey, man, you like players, you hold on to them. That's absolutely a good move. Mine comes from fear of injury. That's really all it is. Turnover and injury running back is so prevalent that it's just, I don't like investing at a time where it's easy for more. It seems like more likely the running backs get hurt in preseason than any other position, even though it's not probably real, just feels that way. And the fact that you have to spend up higher for running backs that produce than wide receivers that produce because there's less of them. But like Gibbs, Bijan, and Hall, absolutely. Like these guys are going to be good for your team for another year or two. Barkley or Pollard, if you don't have to pay as much, sure. Pollard isn't doing great, so I don't really know if I bother with Pollard, but I love me some Baquan. You going to come in, or are you just going to sit there in the background sipping your tea? Like, what is this? because we are caught up, and my wife is home and my daughter is still awake. So I was going to work on ending the show, but if Peter's here and wants to keep going,
I'll have control of it. It's your show. I'm going to stay back here.
All right. Well, I mean, we are caught up on comments.
No, I'm good. How'd it go? How's the show go?
We missed you, Peter. We didn't have any spreadsheets. We didn't do any math. It was rough.
I did this every once in a while.
Best show ever. Got it. Appreciate that. Thanks very much.
This is my Peter impression.
I was listening to the main DLF podcast, and as usual, they just really angered me, especially when it came to tight end ranks. Like, they were debating Kincaid, and I think it was over Laporta, and they have Hawkinson, and they were talking about the spikiness of George Kittle, and that annoyed me because I was like, point to a tight end or any player that's not spiky. Like, he's been 4 out of 4 out of his last 4 games. He's been in top 7. Like, how spiky is that? But
very weird.
You mentioned Kincaid in the last question, and I was wondering how you all are doing with your tight end ranks.
I mean, my tight ends are either Kelsey or
tiers. Tiers might be a better question, right?
It's basically been Kelsey, Andrews, and everybody else.
So you're keeping Andrews up there, and I would too. But I think he's falling. I get a lot of Kincaid Andrews questions, and I'm like, yeah, Andrews. I mean, what is this? Yeah, Andrews, please.
So I had a weird trade offer come into me in a league where I don't have my own first, and I'm kind of, it's Olympian. So I'm like still scoring well, but I'm not doing well. I may like back into the playoffs. I have Kelsey. A team offered me Andrews for Kelsey. I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Like, I still think, and he was like, well, Kelsey's going to retire at the end of this year. I'm like, well, then why do you want him? That's just that, you're double talking.
Negging players that you're trying to trade for is just the worst thing in the world.
No, thinking about it, we often break it down with tiers. Like, it's in the same tier, but the ranks matter too. Like, I might have Kelsey, Andrews, Kittle, Laporta all in a similar tier. Hawkinson's maybe making a case for himself to get there, but the ranks still matter. I mean, you got to give me something to get up to Kelsey from Andrews, and maybe if you're valuing, like in that tier, I might trade to Laporta just because age. If I'm not just not doing well, but I'm a bad team and I need to think long-term value, Laporta's probably more tradable to more teams at the similar value. But yeah, I was thinking about that most of the day. And also my hate for TJ Hawkinson knows no bounds, apparently. I didn't realize I hated him so much till I heard him in that conversation. I was like, no, it's not the same. It's not the same thing.
All right, fellas, I need to go to bed now that you're here because I just hate Peter, and since he showed up, I need to leave.
Yeah, every time I show up, I've noticed.
I'm glad you're picking up on it.
You're not subtle, let's say. Bye, Russ. Hey,
so
Zach, how you doing?
Do you really not have control of the show?
No, I do. I have control of everything. I am master controller. No, I really didn't expect to be back in time for you to be here, so that's why I never mentioned it. I just was like, oh, they're still on. I'm gonna go see what's up, but I'm knackered. I'm halfway through a bowl of cold pasta, so I will not answer for any of my opinions. Let's see what we got here. Superflex only team, Baker Mayfield for Kincaid, and a Superflex. Yeah,
I still think I'd rather have Kincaid.
I still think I'd rather have Kincaid. Yeah, not enough. I have a hard time with the values on QBs. This level in 8-team league. Yeah, there's a lot of QBs doing good enough. Baker Mayfield being one of them, Josh and Jobs being one of them. I think it's important to remember the lesson that the NFL doesn't care and it hates players. These Mayfield, Dobbs, they will just be memories like Gardner Minshew was every time there was another healthy guy with draft capital. Unfortunately, despite being the hardest position, every time they find a guy who's somewhat capable, like, yeah, but I don't like it. So I don't think, and this is part of my disagreement ongoing, one of my many. With John Hogue, it's just I don't think quarterbacks bring you the value that they should theoretically, because we all kind of know that, and Mayfield's in that category. I'd much rather have Kincaid. Like, despite the value of a replacement and the undervaluation of quarterbacks, I think Kincaid holds more value for a lot longer period of time. So yeah, Kincaid pretty easily, and I think you're hosing him. 14 team Superflex, no premium. My team isn't bad, but not competitive. You guys, young guys, injuries, etc. Traded Kincaid for Andrews in a second. I like that move. Within the same tier, you're getting a little extra draft capital. The age doesn't matter near as much to me as a ceiling, as long as my team is, as you describe it, somewhat decent, just not winning this year. So yeah, I take this opportunity to get Andrews. Mike Havens posted today that there are people who trade away everyone who's injured and people who trade for everyone that's injured. And I'm in that second camp. I'll take the discount on what I think is a better player. 8 team only. Yeah, I don't think that matters to me.
I don't know if you saw the tweet from Adam Harstead where it was kind of this discussion where, trading out of the injured player for a lesser player. And he said, give me the value, give me the better player every time, because people think they have a better chance of winning a league than they actually do. So give yourself more kicks at the can by taking the better player.
Yeah. I think it can come in. I still play Age like every Dynasty player. I'm surprised at the number of people who don't seem to do it or think about it the same way I am. Like, I've been trying to trade for, as you probably have as well, anyway you don't have Adam Thielen but we're competitive this year. It's like you send them a second round pick. Like, his points are worth more than that, but you're not going to get it because Dynasty, and I can use them. And I've been turned down across the board. And I'm like, he turns back into a pumpkin the minute the season ends. Like, that's how we play Age. And they're like, yeah, but I have to point. Well, they'll look real shiny on your bench, well, on your losing roster. But that's kind of how I play Age, as like an add to a trade, like an invisible add, not as something I value in and of itself. No premium. This one, I just answered this one. Someone new came in. Yeah, Nico and Demario, fake player, fake name. That guy doesn't exist as far as I know. For 24 first is probably the 103 to 107. Hated getting out of the Texans offense, but couldn't say no. No, you should love getting out of the Texans offense for that. Nico isn't worth a top 7 pick. Even though you're given this as a range, that's a minimum top 7 pick. Like, no, Tank Dell's the best receiver. He just is. Nico, I think I was one of the only ones to point out, or at least accept, that Nico is doing much better than I would have expected this season earlier on. And he will continue to do that, but he's still that level of player. You're surprised when he's remarkably startable, like Cortland Sutton this year. And that's the ceiling. And that's, again, NFL hates players. He will fade. They'll add more players. And Tank Dell's really the shiny new thing, and also the volume play there. I think. So long term. Yeah. Anytime.
Like Tyson, that for you, getting the 107 to the 103 in the 24 class is a great pickup for a couple of nice players. But this class looks like, again, a couple of top quarterbacks, maybe three. There are, 4, 5, 6 wide receivers and Brock Bowers. So I like what you did there. I like getting a pick in that range for,
especially if this
Nico
is super
Collins
flex.
It
top 7 pick is so much more valuable.
Yep.
Like, early reports on the classes, by pick 4, you're starting to go, meh. But in a super flex, you've got at least the value of the position there. There's going to be 2 or 3 quarterbacks to draft. There's at least 3 wide receivers people are already nuts on. I think the running backs are going to be a little bit, there'll be a top guy somewhere, I assume. But the running backs seem to be a little down from this class. And there'll be nothing like this tight end class. Like this is the once in every 5, 7, 10 years class, which we were highlighting this offseason. So there's no one else to even really bolster it. But the top 7 in a super flex is still a really good place to be. Like grab one of those wide receivers, presumed, and you'll be doing pretty well. A high value season, if nothing else, compared to anything else in that trade. They could have thrown Jacoby in there in the second round pick, and you still would have been hosing pretty handily for me.
Yep.
And look, Russ wasn't wrong. That was the last comment.
That was it. We were fast today. We were fast, Pete.
Well, you didn't have me dragging you down. You didn't have the anchor just weighing you down.
I don't think it's that. But we didn't have to wait for any spreadsheets to load, so that
helped. That's why
people like sit start questions. We're like, I don't know. Let's go to the next one.
flip a coin. Do you like gelato?
I think gelato came up several times tonight. Yeah.
You got an ice cream place that you like to go to?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you all had fun. I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it'll be assuming you're here next week. It'll be you and Russ, or it'll be a no-go because I am not going to be here next week. So
doing something fun, I hope.
I'm going to be on a plane. So
that's kind of fun up in the sky.
It could be.
Dreamed about it.
You got a 50-50 shot that it's fun.
For hundreds of years, people dreamed about flying, and Zach's like, I'm doing it next week, Snobby. It's fine.
Yeah.
What do Brits do for Thanksgiving? It's just a Thursday or a Monday or whatever it is. It's not a thing. But thanks. Have a great Thanksgiving, all. Thanks, Alan. You too.
Hey.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. Jeff, just fresh. Nice to see you. Yeah, I hope everyone has a great day tomorrow. I'll be working, but that's cool too. Making money's fun. But no. Have a great day, and thanks for tuning into the grind. I guess. Look,
all right, Pete. Look over there.
Hey, there's.